That felt amazing. Amelia beamed about defeating Paloma and Sophie in the birthday shirt battle. She walked through the mall, riding high on her victory. Meanwhile, Charles cleared his throat and glanced at her awkwardly. Sorry if I overstepped just now when I said you bought that for me. I just wanted to send a message to Sophie and give her a hard time for being nasty to you. Amelia shook her head with a small smile. It's okay. I know you were trying to help me out of that ordeal. Just then, Amelia realized something and turned to Charles. Wait, why are you here? Don't you have work? Charles tried to act casual as he answered. Oh, you mentioned you were at the mall and I had some time to kill on the way to my meeting at the hospital, so I figured I'd come give you a lift after all. Amelia raised a suspicious brow at him. The lift I said I didn't need? Just then, Amelia and Charles heard a commotion behind them. Not so fast, Amelia. I'm not done with you two. Amelia rolled her eyes as Sophie shrieked at them from across the way. But she was done dealing with her awful stepsister and wasn't about to give her one more minute of her time. My car's right out front. Want to make a run for it? Yes, please. Come on. She'll never catch up to us in those heels. Hey, get back here. Once they were in the car, Charles turned to Amelia. All right, enough of that drama. Let's get you to the hospital to see your dad. Just then, Amelia received a text from the birthday boy whose gift she'd just secured. It read, See you at the villa, 7 p.m. Amelia smiled to herself. The slow dance situation with Paloma at his birthday banquet had her in a bad funk all day, but she was happy that tonight she and Max would have Javier all to themselves. Future husband soon sent her another text. Chocolate or vanilla cake? Amelia chuckled and responded. It's your birthday. You pick. I don't care for sweets. Amelia shook her head and texted back. That's criminal. But since you're asking, you should know my cake preference is chocolate cake with vanilla icing. Amelia smiled softly to herself and slipped her phone back into her purse. The car drove along a quiet road with soft, melancholic music playing. Amelia rested her head against the cool window, lost in thought. She looked at the scenery passing by, her mind filled with things left unsaid. Charles focused on driving, glancing at her occasionally. The song on the radio brought back memories of happier times they shared. Out of nowhere, a deafening horn shattered the peace. Amelia's eyes widened in alarm as she turned toward the sound. Her breath hitched as she saw it, a massive truck speeding toward them, its hulking frame careening out of control, heading straight for the passenger side, where Amelia sat. Charles! She shouted, her voice cracking with panic. Charles's hand clenched the wheel. His heart raced as adrenaline surged through his veins. He spotted the truck too late. It was already too close. Hold on, he yelled. In a split-second decision, Charles jerked the wheel violently to the left so it wouldn't hit the passenger side. The car swerved sharply, tires screaming against the asphalt. Amelia clutched her seatbelt, her body pressed against the door as the car lurched sideways. The truck collided with the car's driver's side in a bone-shaking impact. Metal crumpled and glass shattered. The deafening sound of the collision filled the air, drowning out everything else. Amelia was thrown forward, her seatbelt snapping her back. Her head whipped violently, her heart pounding so hard she could barely hear her own panicked breaths. When the car finally stopped, there was silence. The engine's steady hum came to an end, leaving only the soft sound of metal cracking and Amelia's shallow, shaky breaths. Amelia's eyes darted toward him, and her stomach dropped. "Charles?" Her voice trembled, barely above a whisper. Charles was slumped against the deployed airbag, his head tilted unnaturally. Blood trickled down the side of his face, staining his shirt collar. "Charles!" she cried, her voice breaking. Panic surged through her as she scrambled out of her seat. Her hands shook as she tried to reach for him. The metallic scent of blood filled the confined space. The air was thick, suffocating. Amelia's trembling fingers brushed against his shoulder. "Wake up! Please, Charles, wake up!" He didn't stir. Her mind raced, her vision blurring as tears welled in her eyes. Ignoring her own pain, she frantically searched the car for her purse to get her phone and call 911. But the impact caused her purse to fly to the back seat, where the back corner of the car had begun to catch fire. Just then, her chest tightened when she saw the bag with Javier's birthday gift start to go up in flames. But she forced herself to focus. She needed a phone, so she fished through Charles's pocket until she quickly found his cell. "Hold on, Charles," she whispered, her voice raw with desperation. "You have to hold on. I'm calling 911. Her fingers slipped on the screen as she dialed, tears streaming down her face. After she called for an ambulance, Amelia quickly worked to free Charles from the car and drag him away from it. She wasn't sure if moving him would harm any of his injuries, but the car was catching fire, and she couldn't leave him in there if it was about to blow. "10 minutes later, the ambulance arrived with loud sirens. Medics carefully placed Charles on a stretcher. As the EMTs rushed Amelia into the ambulance with Charles, she anxiously shouted, "Oh, my purse! Please, it's in the car, but I couldn't get to it with the fire. Please, I need my phone." Amelia was in shock and struggling to think straight with the state Charles was in. But after that near-death experience, all she wanted was to call Javier and also hear her son's voice. "Ma'am, we've got to move, but we'll ask emergency services to retrieve as many personal belongings as they can from the vehicle." Amelia nodded, understanding, as they closed the ambulance doors. The ambulance sped through the streets with sirens and flashing lights. Inside, the atmosphere was tense. Medics worked efficiently, calmly checking Charles's vital signs. Amelia sat next to Charles, holding the edge of the seat tightly. Her knuckles were white. She glanced between Charles's pale, still face and the serious expressions of the medics. "Stay with me," she whispered, her voice trembling. The distant, cold wail of the siren outside only amplified the pounding of her heart. Charles breathed slowly through the oxygen mask. Each faint sound and small movement of the stretcher made Amelia's chest feel tighter. The ambulance jolted to a stop. "Let's move," one of the medics barked. The doors opened quickly, and Charles was placed on the stretcher with urgency. Amelia hurried to follow as they took him out, feeling unsteady on her feet. The emergency room was chaotic. Nurses and doctors moved quickly, speaking in urgent voices. Charles was taken away on a stretcher, and the wheels squeaked on the smooth floor. Amelia rushed after him but was stopped at the doors of the operating area. A doctor in scrubs turned to her, his face grave but professional. "Doctor, how is he?" "Will he be okay?" she blurted, her voice shaking. The doctor's expression didn't falter. "You need to perform a full examination to determine the extent of his injuries. Are you his girlfriend or wife?" Amelia froze. I'm a friend," she stammered, "but I'm not leaving, not until I know he's okay." Once the doctor nodded and hurried off, Amelia sank into a chair just outside the emergency room, her head racing with adrenaline. Just then, a nurse passed and she called out to them. "Excuse me, the EMT said someone would bring my personal belongings here from the wreck. Do you know if anyone has my purse or my cell phone?" "I'll check at the front desk." As the nurse left, Amelia cursed herself for not thinking to memorize the number to the villa or Javier's cell by heart. She needed her phone. Moments later, the nurse returned with Amelia's purse in hand. It was a little scorched, but still intact, and filled Amelia with relief as she quickly reached for it and took out her phone. But just as she went to dial Javier, Charles's doctor returned and called to her with urgency. "Are you with Mr. Dawson?" "Yes. What's wrong?" "Come with us, please. We need help reaching Mr. Dawson's family. He's being rushed into surgery now." Hearing the gravity in the doctor's voice, Amelia's heart sank in her stomach, and she pocketed her phone as they hurried her to follow. Meanwhile, Javier sat in the living room waiting for Amelia to arrive so they could go to dinner. Today was his birthday, and he had asked her not to be late tonight. There was somewhere important he wanted to take her to. Yet here he was, feeling stood up by her again. Mr. Grant hung up the phone and approached. "Your Highness, Miss Rivera is still unreachable." Javier's thin lips pressed into a hard line as he leaned back in his chair, frustrated. After a moment, Victor stepped forward, breaking the heavy silence. "Sir, your parents are urging us to head over now. It's time to depart." Before Javier could respond, Max's small voice cut through the tension. "Who are your parents?" Max asked curiously, tilting his head as he perched on the edge of the couch. Javier's expression softened slightly as he reached over and picked Max up, placing him on his lap. "Tonight, I'm taking you to meet your grandparents. It was a surprise. Would you like that?" Max's eyes lit up with excitement. "Grandparents? I have more grandparents?" Javier allowed a faint smirk. "If you didn't have grandparents, how would you exist?" Max nodded thoughtfully, then his face brightened even more. "Well, aren't we waiting for Mom? She'd want to meet them too." The prince tried to keep his tone cheery for Max's sake. "I know, buddy. She might have to meet us there if she doesn't get here soon." Javier turned away from his son to hide the storm brewing on his face. How much longer could he wait for a woman who didn't seem to care about celebrating his birthday with him? Not only had she failed to show up, but her phone was also unreachable. Javier had waited for 2 hours now. 2 hours. And not even a, "Sorry, I'm running late" text. She must have completely forgotten their meeting tonight. Forgotten his birthday entirely. He wondered who she was with. Was she somewhere having fun? So much fun that she forgot her promise to him? Or even worse, did she remember it, but not even care? After another 30 minutes, Javier gave up on waiting for Amelia and carried Max into the car. He carefully placed him in the seat beside him and gave the driver a clipped command. "Head to my parents." The car drove away from the villa, and Javier watched out the window. His face showed no emotion, but his thoughts plagued him and gnawed at his patience. Where was Amelia? And who was she with?
To find out what happens next, download the Pocket FM app in the next minute to get free access to all episodes of The Royal Accident for free.